Hello and welcome back to Rugby Geeks. Okay, so Super Saturday yesterday. Oh my god, it did not disappoint. If you haven't already done so, by the way, do slide on down below the video, hit that like button and subscribe. We're on our road to 50 subscribers, so let's go, boys. We're going to talk about the action from yesterday so that you don't have to go and search up all of the match reports. So let's kick things off in Murrayfield. Huge congratulations to an absolutely domination. Scotland annihilated Italy. Hooker Dave Cherry and winger Van der Merwe both scored twice. And Jones, Steele and Johnson all get one. BG opened the game with Italy's only try of the game, so 7 tries to 1. Stuart Hogg was the real focal point of that Scottish attack. It was a very, very simple attacking formation for them. A pod of forwards running in between the 9 and 10 channel, and then Hogg would have 2 or 3 runners off him. He'd take it to the gain line and just pop the ball into one of his runners that was running down the defensive holes, and if nothing was on there, then he'd have a screen pass to Maitland at 15. So very, very simple setup for them. Very Jonathan Sexton-esque in his prime. He was very good at that. Not so much these days. Tends to take the ball on a bit deeper, but certainly Stuart Hogg at 10. Finn Russell, look out, mate. Hoggy's coming for your shirt. Italy, they really have to fix this defensive shape if they're going to remedy a 6th consecutive all-losing championship. It's a shame for the Italians because we just want them to be competitive now. It's a bit embarrassing for everybody else having to go there and dick them. You can't have your you can't have your only objective of the game is to keep it under 50. They dropped to 15th in the world, below everybody. The Italians are in all sorts of trouble. Scotland will still have to play the French. Can Scotland take second place? Can the French win the whole thing? Wafflegate has caused some more controversy over next Friday's fixture, as the English Premiership refuse at the moment to release their players, so it looks like they're going to be without a few key individuals for that game. Scotland have finished this Six Nations beautifully. They've had a fantastic tournament by all accounts, and there are going to be some huge headaches for Warren Gatland come selection for the Lions tour. On to Ireland, England. Oh my leprechaun. England don't turn up at all. They look like they were still sat on the bus listening to Wenger Boys. They pretty much throw the game in penalties. I think the penalty count finished on 16 or 17. I can't quite remember. But it is clear from word go, England did not want it as much as Ireland, and Ireland were out for blood. And didn't they get it? Ireland did pick up a red card in the game. Bundyaki knocked Billy Vunipola out cold. There was no way the referee could make any other decision but to give a red. It was a shame, but the damage was already done for England. They were already in too much hot water. Just as they'd taken off George Ford and replaced him with a centre, Owen Farrell goes and takes a head knock, and that's the end of his game. So England finished the game with Dan Robson at 10, which was less than ideal. Unfortunate for him, he's not a 10, and he didn't look like a 10. Bless his heart. But he gave his all and he tried his best, and that's all you can ask for. Tries for Earls and Conan really set the platform, but Sexton took the game away, kicking 6 penalties. 6 penalties. It's mental. 18 points just through boot. And, well, England's discipline is a huge problem. England have followed pretty much, other than the French game, they've followed exactly the same form throughout the whole Six Nations. Poor in execution and poor in discipline. There are some heavy questions for that England camp to answer. Clive Woodward in commentary after the game said that England haven't performed since the World Cup semi-final. I don't normally agree with Sir Clive Woodward, but he ain't wrong, is he? The Autumn Nations Cup was poo. I mean, the standard of rugby across the board was terrible, and we snuck past a third French team, the French Seas, in extra time. I don't know what to say about this England squad. If we're building towards a World Cup, this is not the England squad that is going to get out of a pool stage, let alone win a World Cup. There is a long 24 months ahead for England. And all the home nations. To be fair, the standard of rugby in this Six Nations has not been top-notch. The French have underwhelmed. The Irish have been really poor. The Scots have done very well. The Scots have improved. The Welsh, and I'm going to say it. They've jammed their way to a Grand Slam playoff with France. Yeah, that game finished 32-18 in favour of Ireland, and wow, as I say, it was a hard watch. I thought Scotland-Italy was a hard watch because it just got embarrassing for Italy. This was equally a hard watch, but full of action and head injuries galore. People were putting shots in, and of course it was CJ Stander's emotional final game in the Six Nations, and there was a beautiful message that he put out on Twitter afterwards, thanking the fans and the country for all their support. And he had a little tear in his eye, didn't he? Saw a little tear in his eye, bless his cottons. It obviously meant an awful lot to him, and I'm sure the Irish camp will be pleased that they could have got him a win in his final Six Nations appearance. Right, on to the final game. Oh my baguette. What happened in Paris? Unbelievable, Jeff. It was a game that was played at 100 miles an hour for 60 minutes. Wales dominating for the most part of that 60 minutes. But the French were able to cling on in their tries for Tafanua Dupont and Olivion and Doulin for the French. Josh Adams got himself a very controversial try. On-field decision was try. There was clear and obvious held up. Well, I think, and this is just my opinion, and you can call me arrogant English and you can call me salty English all you want. I think Wayne Barnes passed the buck. It was clear and obvious held up. There was no clear and obvious grounding of the ball. But Wayne Barnes said that he could not see clear and obvious throughout. So he did say it was held up, but he said he couldn't see clear and obvious throughout. Therefore, there's no reason you can't award the try. I think you've passed the buck there, Wayne. I'm not going to lie. I think you dropped the ball a touch there. But take nothing away from the Welsh. They threw the kitchen sink at the French. But the problem with the French at the minute is once you've got your foot on their neck, you cannot take it off. And that's exactly what happened. A red card in the last 20 minutes for Willemese, contact with the eye. The papers are reporting it this morning as savage. A savage clear out. I don't think it was. He's tried to get over the top of him. So basically, Wyn Jones has got his body position very low. There's no way that Willemese can clear out from underneath him. So he's tried to go over the top and judo roll him. He's misplaced his hand slightly. He can have no idea that he's put his hand anywhere near his eye, but he has, and by the letter of the law, it was the right decision. It was unfortunate, but it was a red card. But by no means, the Guardian, was it savage. It was a rugby incident, really, but unfortunately, the letter of the law must be applied. But it did kick France into life, and they dominated for the next 20 minutes all over Wales, so much so that Wales' discipline imploded, and they picked up a red card for... Liam Williams got one, and I think it was Tipperick, or it might have been Navidi, but it was a back rower that got it. And it looked like the French were going to climb back into the game. With a minute and a half on the clock, Wales turnover. It's over. It's got to be. Surely. No. 20 seconds left, and Wales concede the penalty for sealing. Allows the French to get down into the 22, and once they're there, they're going nowhere. Wales... with a man short, well, there were two men short in their defensive line, but the man short across both the teams, the overlap was on, and in goes Doolin with 2 minutes into red time to shatter Welsh dreams. Look, we can laugh and we can joke about how Wales have been so lucky throughout this tournament, but they've deserved. They've outplayed their opposition, albeit poor opposition. They've outplayed their opposition throughout this tournament. Yes, it is lucky when you get a red card given to your opposition, because sometimes, you know, okay, the Peter Mahoney one, that was intent. He intentionally went to injure the player. It was intentional foul play. The Scottish one, I can't remember who it was now, but the Scottish one, again, that's just following the letter of the law, and you understand that, but that did allow Wales back into the game. It wasn't intentional from the Scottish player, but it was a red card to the letter of the law, and completely agree with it. But it did allow Wales back into a game that they probably were going to lose. Against England, 2 controversial tries. Take nothing away from Wales, though, because they would have won the game anyway based on England's discipline. You could potentially argue, would England have got back into that game, or would have England stayed in that game if those 14 points weren't there and they were in with a shout? Maybe, but let's be honest, the way the Six Nations have gone for England, they were probably going to give away enough penalties to put 50 points on the board anyway. So, a deserved win there. And arguably, Wales' best performance of the Six Nations comes against France, who have somehow pulled it out the bag. So the Six Nations lives for one more week. Scotland travel to Paris, as we've mentioned, without those Premiership players at the moment. But expect fireworks in Paris. Scotland will be looking to take second place, I believe they can take. And the French will be looking to further break Welsh hearts and steal a first Six Nations win in over a decade. Right. More to follow. We'll have some live streams coming up next weekend, including Scotland versus France in the Six Nations showdown. Waffle Gate will reopen throughout the week, I'm sure. To be fair, I'm in the camp that this should be Wales Six Nations. The French don't deserve to have the opportunity to play Scotland. They should be docked. They should have automatically lost that game pending an investigation, because you can't go for waffles during COVID, boys. It's just as simple as that. It's frustrating. It's sad for Scotland that they're going to have to play a game. It's sad for Wales that they're going to come up against, that they're potentially going to lose because France get to play a weakened team. Never mind. It is what it is. Right, so yes, more content coming throughout the week. More live streams next weekend with the rugby watch-alongs. Do join us for those. If you haven't already, like the video. What are you doing? Get down there now and hit that red button while you're down there as well, and subscribe.